Hello there, I'm Indiana Jim, host of this channel, and I'm making this video for 3 different channels. I have 3 YouTube channels. One is the Indiana Jim YouTube channel, the 40 Plus Gamer, and the Star Wars Survival Guide. Each of these channels has different number of subscribers. For the Indiana Jim YouTube channel, it's like 44 subscribers. For the 40 Plus Gamer, I just recently got up to 100. And for the Star Wars Survival Guide, I'm well over 600. Much of the Star Wars Survival Guide was built on the Battlefront 2 game, which I started making content for shortly before Electronic Arts decided that they needed to cut bait and take off and start developing Battlefield 2042. The 40 Plus Gamer has mostly been centered around content for Apex Legends, and the Indiana Jim channel has suffered from an identity crisis. For the Indiana Jim channel, I first started posting some of my Battlefront and Battlefront 2 content back in the day, before I even had an idea what I was doing. And most of that was from PS4 share content. I made a transition into what I thought was going to be my new content strategy. And that was around the idea of self-image, self-worth, that kind of thing. Psychological, self-help sort of kind of coaching, that kind of deal. I realized that for whatever reason, I wasn't really keen on continuing that drive, because it seemed to me that on YouTube, especially, there wasn't really, people aren't searching for that content. It comes up. It certainly comes up with like Tony Robbins and some of these like inspirational quotes where they put some music and they overlay some text and they put some stock video in there with the voice of Tony Robbins or Jordan Peterson or something else, and they make their content that way. And that's not something I want to do. I want it to come from the heart. It seems like without an established audience, it's hard to build an audience based on that content alone. It's very hard to find anybody searching. When you go into YouTube search, it's very, very niche or niche, depending on your pronunciation of that word. What I found is that, well, a couple things happened on my way to YouTube's success. The first was that I realized what I wanted to do. And that was, I want to teach writing. Writing is what I do best. It's where my real strength lies. It's where my real ability and talent lies. I first heard professor of screenwriting, Eric Edson, professor of screenwriting at Cal State Northridge. And he wrote a book called The Story Solution. And in one of his videos, he was talking about this video right here. He was talking about MFA degrees and Master of Fine Arts, which is a terminal degree in that field, meaning you don't need a PhD to go teach at the college level. It occurred to me that was using one of my clear strengths and something that's been with me since childhood, and that is telling stories and playing make-believe and playing pretend and making up stuff and entertaining people with stories and learning about stories and absorbing things like that. I decided that I was going to go back to school because I wanted to go get an MFA in creative writing. So I went back to school. And that has taken up a lot of my extra time during the week. That's the first thing. The second thing, of course, is not really understanding what I want to accomplish on YouTube anyway. And that remains kind of up in the air. I don't really know how I want to focus on that. So the Indiana Jim YouTube channel may come into play more as I start getting into more story analysis, that kind of thing. But I may not do that on YouTube at all. One of the places that I've started putting out content is on Substack. If you go to indianajim.substack.com, that's where I write exclusively about writing. We analyze a piece of media like a TV show, or talk about what's going on with a TV show or a movie, analyzing it, or craft posts about writing stories, how to construct them, this kind of thing. that's where I'm going to be doing most of that. So I would appreciate it. I would love it if you came by. If you're interested in that sort of thing, you can go check that out, see some of my posts, and see if that's up your alley. As far as the 40 plus gamer is concerned, I still play Apex quite a bit, but I've become a little disillusioned with the Apex Legends thing, for a few reasons. One is kind of this, we're seeing the drawback of esports in general. We've also seen that Electronic Arts does whatever they can to make money, and make money for themselves and not have to see anyone else make money. That's why they pulled back on esports organizational skins, because these logos belong to these organizations, and so it's their intellectual property. And so EA would license their intellectual property for their game. They deserve to have a royalty. They deserve remunerations for that, and not just a flat fee. They should have royalties per sale for their product, their intellectual property, and EA didn't want to do that. And so that's why that was pulled. And we've also seen people trying to run tournaments of their own for Apex Legends with no money coming out of EA's pocket, but because someone else is making some money, they put the kibosh on that. I'm just not that thrilled about doing content for that group, for that company, giving them free promotion. I still enjoy the game, so I feel like there's still going to be content around that, but less focused on, I don't know. I really like the idea of analyzing people's gameplay, which I started to do as Apex Legends Film Room, but I pulled back on that because I still wasn't sure, and it got a good response. So I feel like there's something to say there, but I also feel like there's something to say about other games, and to talk about other games and talk about the industry as a whole, because I'm not just only interested in Apex. And finally, for the Star Wars Survival Guide, for a lot of different reasons, I've become a little disillusioned on Star Wars. The first thing was the channel started to as Battlefront 2 content. For reasons already discussed, that went away. I thought, well, I'm going to turn to Star Wars gaming content in general, but that dried up. Like, we've seen some things conceptually. We've seen like Star Wars Eclipse be teased. We've seen Star Wars Hunters still hasn't gotten out of their limited market test. So there's something wrong there, but I don't really, I was interested in a game like Star Wars Battlefront 2. There is no other game like Battlefront 2, and that market is super saturated. There are so many really good Star Wars gaming content creators that I just don't see myself doing anything interesting in that space. There's already plenty of people doing all kinds of interesting things. I got to figure out what that is first. And I thought maybe, well, I'll turn my attention to Star Wars media. I will turn my attention to the universe at large. And yeah, we'll talk about Star Wars games, but we'll also talk about shows and movies. And the more that I have been studying good stories, classic stories, story structure, things like that, the more disillusioned I have become with the current slate of Lucasfilm content. So anyway, I'm not sure what to do with the Star Wars Survival Guide. Not even sure if it's going to remain a Star Wars channel. Not sure if I'm going to keep adding content. It might just be done. And I'm not sure about that. I have ideas. I have things that I'd like to do Star Wars content-wise on that channel. So it remains to be seen. Right now, I'm looking at graduating next weekend. No. May 6th, whenever that is, 3 weeks. Once I've graduated and schoolwork is behind me, I'm going to have a lot more time to consider what to do as far as that goes. I'm not playing as much Apex as I used to. I've been prioritizing my time better because school has kind of forced me into that. It's forced me into the habit of writing and thinking clearly and not wasting as much time. So that's good. But I wanted to speak to all my channels and let folks know what's going on in my head what's going on in my mind, and leave this as a placeholder for anyone who shows up to see what it's about, to let you know that while it looks like I haven't done much, there's a lot of reasons behind that, and I'm still considering my content focus in the future. So if you are subscribed, I hope you stay that way, just if nothing else to see what comes down the pipe, and see if that's something you want to watch. If you have suggestions, please definitely leave them in the comments below and tell me what you would like to see, or tell me what you have seen from me that you like the most so far. And then that'll give me an idea, some idea of what I can do in the future to keep this channel going or not. We'll see. But anyway, I look forward to hearing from you and look forward to receiving at least some content from me down the road.